Hey onda, thanks for watching Doing Life with Jenny. If you are new here, I just quit my job in the US as a Spanish teacher and I have moved to Mexico to the state of Hidalgo. In the last video, you saw me driving for over 30 hours from St. Louis, Missouri to the state of Hidalgo, Mexico, and in the video, I mostly just showed you like the route I took, the scenery, and everything appeared to go smoothly. But today I'm here to tell you everything that went wrong on the ride down. The closer I got to the border, the hotter it got. You can see on the dash it got to be 108 degrees. I think at one point it got to 110. I was very worried that the car was going to overheat just because it was rough on the car with going so far, it being so hot, the car being older and having so many miles on it, but the motor never did overheat. I didn't have trouble at the border. They didn't even ask for my passport. They just give you a green or a red light to know if you should stop to get inspected. There was difficulty in getting to immigration in Banjercito to get my permit for my car, but that will be its own separate video. The ride from Nuevo Laredo to Monterrey was quite smooth. There wasn't traffic, there was nothing shady going on, it was hot and there were a lot of toll booths. The trouble starts when we get to our Airbnb for the night. So when we walk in, it looks like there's dog poop smeared on the floor, but it's not like it just happened and they were getting ready to clean it, like it had just been there for quite some time. The house overall was filthy and it didn't have AC, well it wasn't turned on as advertised. So there was an AC unit in the room, so we turned it on, but it was just not cooling off. We ordered Uber Eats and ate it, thinking, okay, it will take a while to cool off because it's really hot outside, but it just wasn't cooling off. There were no towels to take a bath, there was no soap or anything to take a bath. So we told the lady, I'm sorry, but we need to go, this is unbearable. So then we went to an auto motel. If you're not familiar, these are usually the places you go when you want to rent it by the hour, if you know what I mean. They have garages, so it's very discreet as to who is staying there, so you can maintain your privacy. But in my case, the garage was ideal because I literally had all of my possessions with me. So after this point in the trip, we had no more trouble with accommodations, but we did start to have car trouble. At some point, leaving Monterrey, the check engine light came on, which it's done a few times since I've bought it, just because it is an older vehicle, it has lots of miles on it, just for like routine maintenance stuff that every car eventually needs, right? But it wasn't just that the light came on and you're like, oh, that's funny, it's running fine. Like, the car was obviously not doing so well. One, in I guess third gear, I don't know, like around 45 to 60 miles an hour, it wasn't shifting, it just kept going like go, trying to pull itself. It was especially noticeable going up and down the mountains. And at some point we stopped and pulled over at the gas station to try to see what was going on. And near what I thought were the spark plugs, it was making like a popping sound, almost like popcorn, but kind of like electric snapping as well. So the thing is, between Nuevo Laredo and Monterrey, there is nothing. Between Monterrey and San Luis Potosí, there is almost nothing. So you better make sure you fill up your tank even if it's not almost empty, because it will be a long time before you see a gas station. And if you think you're going to find a mechanic, you're not. There is nothing. If anything, there are tire shops, but for the most part, there aren't even gas stations or like restaurants to stop at. So there was no option except for to pray and keep driving on because there was no like getting help. Oh, also, once we got closer to San Luis Potosí, the car would stop whenever we were like stopped at a stoplight or a stop sign, or if we had to slow down for a speed bump, it would turn itself off, but then it would start right back up. And basically, the closer and closer we got to San Luis Potosí, the worse the car was doing. So we were going to try to find a mechanic in San Luis Potosí, but one, it was Saturday, so a lot of people are maybe closed, and two, it was later in the day, so even if they had been open on Saturday, they were about to close or were already closed for the day. And 3, I had to get to Pachuca on Monday to get to immigration to renew my residency, and my friend also had to get to work because he already asked off Friday to come pick me up at the border. Luckily, the car had a good chance to rest in San Luis Potosi. At least at night, the temperature cooled off a lot. It was still hot during the day, but not as hot as Monterrey and Nuevo Laredo. So at least from San Luis Potosi going into the state of Hidalgo, there are more frequent like stores and restaurants, gas stations, shops. So if we were to break down, at least there was a better chance we would have some help. Or at least somewhere to go hang out waiting for the, what do you call grua, the tow truck. So we pushed on, and actually the car started feeling better because once we got higher up in elevation, the temperature dropped, and I think that helped the car a lot. But I took the car to the shop yesterday. Luckily, it was only the spark plugs, and it only cost 300 pesos or about $15 to fix it. He had to give me used spark plug cables, but if they work, they work. But yeah, we were honestly so worried about the car. Like, I just needed to make it here to my friend's house, and from here I can take the bus or taxis or whatever if necessary, because the plan is to get rid of the car anyways after I make my final move to my house once that is finished. Yeah, but other than the first Airbnb and the car trouble, the rest of the way was very smooth. Like, the border can be dangerous, but we didn't see anything shady at all. It is normal to have checkpoints along the way. Just because the highway that we were on, which was 85 and 57, I believe, I'll put it on the screen. It is a major highway that people use to come back from the U.S. into Mexico. So they do have several checkpoints just to make sure nobody is looking suspicious. But leaving Mexico on this highway heading north, like, they're extra cautious, and the checkpoints will have traffic backed up for miles. But for us, we had 3 of them. All they did was ask for the permit for the car, ask where we were coming from and where we were going, and that's it. They didn't have us open the car or anything. If they do, it's normal. If you don't have anything to hide, you shouldn't be worried. But I screwed up big time because one of the times when they asked where we were coming from and where we were going, I said I came from St. Louis, Missouri, but I picked him up at the border. But it sounded so shady the way I stopped the conversation, because it made it sound like I picked up some random guy at the border, because the officer kind of interrupted me, so I didn't explain, oh, it was my friend, he flew to the border, I picked him up so he could help me drive down. I didn't have time to explain all of that, but he didn't even bat an eye. But just know it is totally legit, it's totally normal. But yeah, that's it for this video. If you'd like to continue and following me in my journey in living in Mexico, be sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell. Adios.